In the year 1975, a young man stood inside the Pakistan embassy in Rome. He was explaining why he needed a visa extension. With the tone of someone who had been born and brought up in Islamabad, he spoke with fluent Urdu, talking about how he had lost both his parents, how his only surviving aunt was in Singapore, and how his uncle, maternal uncle from London, was coming to get him so they could travel to Singapore together. His visa extension was granted. That man is the author of the book that is being released today, who is seated with us. He was not born in Islamabad, but he was born in the eastern corner of Mizoram in Samthang. And his history, the story of his life, is intertwined with the history of Mizoram. In its 430 pages, from guerrilla fighter to chief minister, takes us on a journey from the dusty streets of Dhaka to the polished avenues of Rome. It carries us through grueling jungle treks and half-planned escapes from Pakistan to Afghanistan. The 10 chapters takes us on a journey across years and continents, from the birth of the author to the birth of the movement for independence, and from there to each and every jungle hideout, each city and each country where the leaders of the nationalists Rome, Germany, and then brings us back to India and talks about the detailed accounts of the steps towards signing of the peace accord. This might be history that you have heard of before because we are all part of that history. But with the accuracy and the details that are found in this book, I assure you is something that you will not find anywhere else in the world, because this is from the point of view of a young researcher who did her research on the Ramboy years. I scored through the library of the state library here in Mizoram. I've even gone to the National Library in Kolkata looking for historical data about these Ramboy years, and the facts and data presented in this book is something that is not present anywhere else in the world. In this book, it is fascinating how a young boy who was homesick just from having to go to school in his neighboring village of Kopang South, would later on go to the border of Pakistan, trying to cross over to India at night. I think Putonluya was his partner at that time. Yes, they spent the whole night walking without a compass, without a guide, in danger for their lives, not knowing whether they were going east, west, north, or south. From a young boy who was homesick just to go to school in his neighboring village, and then trying to cross the border of Pakistan to India while his life was in danger. That kind of courage can only come out of an immense love for the homeland and for the country. It is also commendable how in this book it is given that at the young age of 25, he was the secretary of Pulal Denga. In this book, he talks about people who were similar to his age at that time. That was the time of the hippie revolution, and the people he met in Karachi, in different countries, they were all intent on enjoying life. They were all intent on exploring the world. But though the places he visited, whether it was Bangkok or Rome, they still remain the top tourist destinations today. And though he walked through those streets, he did not walk through those streets as someone who was hungry for adventure. He did not walk through those streets as someone who was exploring the world, but as someone who knew that the weight of his people's world rested on his shoulders. The details are immaculate. We may have heard of the independence movement time and again, but some details provided here, such as Pizaite, I think some of us may have not heard of her. After reading this book, I've come to believe that she's single-handedly responsible for the peace that we have in this state today, because without her financial and logistical support, our leaders would have not made it to the Indian embassy in Kabul where the peace process began. So she played a very important role, and her role is given in detail in this book. There are just two things that I want to highlight, because the rest of the book I hope that the readers will explore on their own. Whenever we speak on Ramboy, or the movement for independence, especially for the younger generation or for those who are not from India, what comes to mind is a group of angry young men on a quest for vengeance. But this book makes it clearer than ever that it did not start with a quest for vengeance. It started with Puladenga forming the Mizo Cultural Society with a simple intent to promote the culture of Mizoram because the people of Mizoram were neglected and marginalized. And then it went on to repeated peace negotiations which were ignored, and later on which led to the movement for independence. A second point that I wish to highlight is the grouping of villages. This is something that I wanted to talk about because it was part of my thesis, and it is the darkest chapter of our history, but we do not talk about it enough. I'll just give a little bit about my research here. So in my research, we did a comparative analysis of how the forced grouping of villages was covered in local vernaculars here in Mizoram, and compared it to how it was covered in leading national newspapers, including the Statesman, the Times of India, and the Telegraph. 99% of the reports in the vernacular newspapers talk about suffering, hardship, famine, and death. 99% of the reports in the leading Indian newspapers at that time talk about how the forced grouping was a blessing for the people. I'll just read out one line here. The report reads, "Away from our familiar turmoil, a novel experiment is being conducted in the Mizo Hills district to resettle a group of unsophisticated, tradition-bound people in a way of life more prosperous than they had ever known." So that's how they chronicled it, in a way of life more prosperous than they had ever known. But as the author writes in this book, the forced grouping of villages permanently and completely destroyed the village-based Mizo economy, and the rural economy is impacted till today. This book is also a book of miracles, and it details how one miracle after another led the author to sit with us today, how his life was spared multiple times, and how God's hand was the part of the history of Mizoram and the making of this state. The author mentions this in every chapter. He does not attribute only the good things to God, but also the things that seem like it was a failure, but they later realized that it was God's plan all along. For example, he reflects on Operation Jericho and talks about how if the MNF had taken over the treasury in Aizawl, it could have probably led to their downfall due to corrupting influences. So examples like that talk about how God led them every step of the way. What has always astonished the people of Mizoram is the author or the ex-chief minister's fluency in English and his affinity with complex English words. And I found the secret to his knowledge in this book. When he was in Islamabad for 4 years, starting from the year 1973, he visited the Pakistan Council Library, the British Council Library, the United States Information Service Library, and studied English language every day to gain the proficiency that he has today. He even composed songs and wrote a novel at that time. On a lighter note, the author mentions James Bond at least 3 times in this book, which leads me to believe that he is a fan of James Bond, and I would like to tell him that if this book was ever made into a movie, it would need someone like James Bond to take on the role of the author. I want to end this review by talking about the book from 2 perspectives. First and foremost, as a Mizo. As I turned the pages of this book, what stood out to me was our struggle with identity. How that struggle began at the very making of India, when Mizoram was included in India without consultation, without choice, and without referendum, and how from that pain emerged 2 decades of resistance. Reading this, it not just helps us learn the history, but it helps us see where our struggle with identity comes from and why it still echoes in our lives today. This book also points out that crime was decreased during the nationalist movement because people were united for a cause. But today, if we reflect on our society, we are divided by politics, by small disputes with our neighbors. Would this, and one cannot help but ask, would these divisions matter as much if we held on to that strong sense of shared identity and belonging? Somewhere along the way, we seem to have lost that unity, and perhaps that is why this book matters now more than ever. We are at risk of losing touch with who we are as a people, and we are increasingly disconnected from our history. We are disconnected from the struggles that shape us and the values that define our society. So a book like this becomes a guide. It shows us where to look when we seek to reconnect with our roots and try to understand what it truly means to be Mizo. Secondly, from the point of view of a researcher, the topic of my thesis, as the anchor had announced, was media conflict and nationalism, and examining how media played a role in shaping of Mizo nationalism. So to collect data for this thesis, I had to go through a lot of books that were authored by non-Mizos. Books such as Nirmal Nivedon's The Dagger Brigade, books such as from Sajal Naga, historian. He has written a lot about Mizoram's history. And while reading these books and also appreciating the efforts of these scholars and people from outside the state and from other countries who worked hard on chronicling what had taken place in Mizoram, I found myself often longing for accounts, often thirsting for accounts written by those who are actually part of the history. And accounts of written by someone, by a voice who have actually lived it. And today I think I can say I hold that voice in my hands. So this book is not just a memoir, it is a historical document. It is going to be a treasure trove for researchers. I will admit that I have to go back on my research and make some corrections after reading this because I've learned more truths after reading this. So on behalf of researchers, scholars, and future generations, I want to thank the author, especially for having a diary for over 50 years, I think, which really helped him give the meticulous detail that he has given in this book. And lastly, I'm going to make an appeal. Whether, if you are interested in politics, read this book because it will tell you about the politics of Mizoram, like every detail, like you've never read anywhere before. If you are not interested in politics, read this book because it reads like a Sidney Sheldon novel, so you will be swayed away with it. And if you are a Mizo, read this book. It will help you understand how your identity was shaped. If you are not a Mizo, read this book and try to understand how the people of Mizoram were led to this day. So, because this is the story of not just one man, it is the story of Mizoram. His life is not separate from our history, it is woven into it. And he sits among us today. Someday he may not be here anymore. And when that day comes, he will always be remembered in history, and what will always remain is his story. His role in shaping Mizoram will be preserved in these pages for generations to come. So this book, I believe, after reading it, is not just something you should read. It is something you should pass down to your children and grandchildren so that they learn about our history better. Because this book is not just his story. It's not just the author's story. It is our memory, our collective memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kimi Colney, for introducing a memoir for guerrilla fighter to Chief Minister Kanlong Lemay, and she's currently working as a correspondent for East Mojo, and in her past years, she used to work for several national newspapers. Kanlong Lemay.
Mizoram Thanga, and all the people who have gathered here, near to him, people part of the organization, people who have known him in politics and otherwise, members of his family. It's a great pleasure to be here today for the launch of his book. And I would say that the title itself is interesting. Very interesting. From a guerrilla fighter to a chief minister, and chief minister not once, but chief minister twice. And
Twice.
although at times it looks as if the book is a personal narrative, having read it, I would like to say it's a personal narrative, but it's a narrative of history of a period. It's a narrative of how things shaped out, what were the aspirations of people, how they were met. And having had an experience of being in uniform for a very long time, having been part of many one can say uh, postings and getting into areas where insurgencies or things which engaged you were there. One is trying to study how things happen. And I remember the old adage, a stitch in time saves nine. Read this book, and this adage comes out very clearly. There are aspirations, there are things going wrong. Had we taken that first stitch, maybe things would have been different. Had we done A, B, and C, maybe people may not have suffered. There's so much that is there, and that is what history teaches us. And I would like to say that this book is a very important part of the Mizo history. Very important part. Otherwise, very difficult to get accounts which one can actually rely on, where the Mizo history is concerned. What you will get is gazetteers, what you will get is books written by the colonial, I won't call them masters, but colonial campaign leaders who carried out expeditions for punitive action. And as they say, history generally is what the hunter writes and not what the hunted puts. Think over it. So it is always the hunter who puts down whatever he wants to. But it is the other side of the story that doesn't come out. And I would like to thank Uzoram Thanga for actually putting out how things happened, how people were involved, how he was involved, and what comes out is a couple of things. One, in my perspective, you can't find a more hard-working person than Uzoram. He described his childhood, he described the kind of difficulties that he has seen, he has described days when actually he would have eaten more but he had very less to eat. He has described how he studied. My God, I mean, I admire him for the amount of work he did. And if he was in today's circumstances, he would have topped each and every exam. He topped at that time. It's something which is actually a lesson which will go to our youngsters. You can actually move mountains if you have the will and if you have the desire to put in hard. His rise is totally on that. He's learned at each and every step. Whether it was a school, whether he went to college, whether he taught, whether he saw how the leaders operated, and he learned at each and every place, and that is why I think he acquired a great amount of statesmanship and political acumen. All this came from his desire to learn. And that is something which is important, because what he has put down in the book is a very important phase of history. What were the struggles? What was in the minds of people? How did they go about it? We won't find it anywhere. And I think that is something which is unique. What of course also impresses is that he maintained a diary for 50 years. Very difficult task. Very difficult task. When I was trying to write my memoirs, I didn't have a diary. So I decided that there is something digital which must be there in my brain. I must take it out and put it down. But there were no records. But he had the records. And I think when I started reading his book, which he gave me some time back, I sat down in front of Google Earth, trying to see where all he had been. Of course, a lot of names are spelled differently today. There are, when you look at what is now Bangladesh and what used to be East Pakistan, there are many padas out there which don't figure in his way he has put down the names. So, what we see is a narration which takes you through a very, very important phase of Mizoram's history. I think we should also recognize through this book the role a lot of people who have played in influencing him, in taking him forward, in ensuring that he could count on their largesse to do whatever he did subsequently. I think it is a very important part of the thing. Like it was said that the book will not only be appreciated, it will be read. And when you read, I would like to leave a little caution. Read it from a larger perspective. And the larger perspective is when you look at the word nationalism. What is nationalism? Ask yourself. It is not a small word. Nationalism perspective changes as you grow. It changes as you look wider. It changes with each and every step that you take. And in true words, nationalism is what you want to do for your people so that they can lead a better life. That is what nationalism is. And if you can do that, I think you are a nationalist. What comes out in this book is very clear. And I, for one, found it very, very interesting. I'm sure you all will find it interesting. Read it from that perspective. Read it from the perspective of seeing how the small pieces fit into the larger pieces, how things went from one end to another. I think what a short period of his crosses what I saw in my younger days when he was moving out of East Pakistan into Myanmar and then into Mizoram, while we were moving into areas of Chittagong. I think somewhere we probably waved at each other.
Excellency, the Governor of Mizoram, ladies and gentlemen, Pile Pute, Ramtana, Mipoy Motak, Tak local te, invite and welcome Chua in Chuma Lon to Kansoyeni. Avoina Yen, Kantuma Sangai Kak Takti, Sap Chung, and the Fika. Ami so chung lam tong po and war jol vele de uli ila trying kastia amar se tum fu ero chuan sap chung in kananti vele thapanga ei avoi ni liro puita anh ya cái tang chuan soi tur kanga le maya amar chule aseli tu ko lawom sia ram noi kan nau mi lim pian thar lak lo mi pa ngai noi deu siam mi lim kan ti sermonin Genesis itu jangan tu puan ni kacang kan sekan kacang kan tu kan tu isia eng pun isia toi fel de vina mi zo trong kan ti put anga ta chuan sap trong in kan ti lenga ahuni na tul sia hey moru ko point sia hele khabu hi pakhat na chuan kan opposition dar zona ania chief minister chu ni rengi na ka sia man teu lo fanga opposition kanan ni khan dictation ka beya ka PSO tian min chut saka kan siat tangat ngata opposition ni man lana ania ti chuan kanan chut zoa min sak tunga minan le sak turin kanuna wa biak siama anti lea chumi zo chuan entige hi sak turin kan chuang kan tia penguin hi le kabuchu turo puyan nia andi an chaperang kan tia kanan dorta amar chu kan chudakha ale na katia enge ni wat bai wat ale na kha ashi talutuka anin volume khata kandu anti sia ante to palo lak toi angaya chumila toi turpa chuan writer professional writer anron mangta minron pea ti chuan ubiak siama lekha kazu thon thata ani khan kapu ngoite penguin te chu khovela le kapu publisher lian per palisi ngami ania an tu tak takalin an publish tu tak takalin jugzo chiang le jetro sutilo tu chulo va kan moi palange tia ka jugzo chianga chutia ka jugso ichuan penguin ami premangka ko suami emi karim kan sabi penguin delia kumso pali chuang lo thok to kha khan e khai kan du lutu ile kapuran thon sak trong po kalau chiar zo fit to penguin kan du lutu amar tu publisher lian policy na pakhat inti kachu interest wala khovela publisher lian pe pakhat na kan dia kan kum khat poi salak lu po yi dollar po nilo euro in billion thum chuang ani alo dia aro pui le maya chu wangin kan lo publisher nang mau shetu ati chowin lai te chiang chingi te ho ne na tien an men skora lo ti ho sa sei kuji patenen ting pui lo win ho to zul fikara li buto tine lo ti khom to latam si chu ho vele nan vang chu wangin kan ngai you are a living legend atia chuan kan lo choi le atia ti chuan nang pe chu ke po karim kan sa kan di pulal de nga MLA puzuram thanga ti te chu kan baya ne lu tu chu van thei to pili tiang kan tia amaro chu kan la toi de wanga volume khata kan ti don nia an tia an la toi ta de wa ti chuan tun volume khata hian alam chuak ta a pathian in remati chuan ami zo version chu tun a hian pumwan chan an kan pui me ka chu ready made vet ania kha chu aziak tu pa thin lung origin ang tak flow walo chuak tu ania chu wangin volume nia kan tianga kha thani chung chuan pe man kan tumanga kha chu atui pollovin alo chuak each one kha nakina kan te to pa the kan tum don dia kan tia ti chun penguin chuan minan chu sakta a hi na ta kha chuan kale ka bujiak masak ang divin mithiam le ka bujiak chu to fa yen an reference an lagna bibliography ti chuta chongin an dia iti vedo non monile an dia ei chuan lak na ka nei lo lak na chu ka thin lunga chongin ani mai ka dia reference lak na tu re ka nei be lo ba amaro chu sang ka ku som sari panga a roma ka lain kan pisto pokal chato boka chu wangin daily hi be tin be chinila angam dong ka tia le ka butiri te hi ka valeya chu ti lai chuan a hei puto na te puding a te so a rinjoli le te bite min po yen min ko lofa purwal china shwala vai nan di chung min ni feka te bit pasam le tin di ar min ati vel ka hatu changkan roma changkan dairy kam ichuan sumsari pangania kung sumale bakal dairy kami data sumi reference chuan ya wangin atit le til dan po hi adik tokat viau in kasi chu wangin ati tuna hian mission nationalism movement hi mi in chuidon ta shila hemi aya authentic le chiang hi a karing lo a chan chu katil vi fit na lai ka kajia Genesis ani nom na chu mo sien ji kata ba atena ki pa kha keini po una yen katil vi fit na til lo na lai chu ko nei amara chu khang te po ka first hand information kajia ani avani ani oma chu ven yi a mission na movement history chun a dictionary atin ve in karim adot lea mi tu mainan chiara re omlo turin jia kadwa mi rel mi chungchanga chelam a chiar tu pana re omati tu pakhat ma kadel chu wangin kha atira changa karil ruwa ka nei ania ti chun tuna hian release turin Union Home Minister Amit Shah kan soma amara chu state panga in than tur ne an boisia tun tha chu man ngam lo thale lama lu chuan adita sia ar pui lung chia shamara lung long elama kan gab nur len yen kan lo ruam mana kanan release ta ani a hei nakina chiang le zwaling kan soiga arem chang chi sa tuni na mai na hiat thei nei durin nakina shan ka duani ti chuan Amit Shah na release lovin kan governor na ron release dong ta alo release ta chu wangin kan lom ani in pon isla avoinen lom tu soi tu Arman Pine, vote of thanks, Soitur, Kan, Siam Lava, Tuiriela Capierte, a chairman party that Tanatuna, vote of thank you, Kan Itu tu pandua transi lepas itu bagi kan soya beti yang ala ko polzoin. Boina un har sakara local song zonte long to country chua. In he hol min a man tir tu kanai jol krak tu ni tu te long to country la. Aboy pui tu zonte long to kan soya. In kan asher te he ta a boy pui na zong ti tu te chung chu a vai in long to kan soya. Tin hemi to ta yan a mingin cho lui lans kan siam vea kan va ya e turin kan in song bo ani. Ole adang chi sak chung in an tila voi kat sermon min bei achan ve sak chung in soila chan ve mi chung in soi ron tia so chan ve e kan fam ta ani na na pui cha maya ai ko ni sila ora chun a sak chung in kanan ti anga. Well, Excellency the Governor, this book, The Penguin, when it was about to be published by the Penguin, the title, what would be the title? They said. And in the beginning, they said that from a rebel to chief minister, they suggested that one. But I said, my people did not accept me as a rebel. I am a freedom fighter. So let us take the middle one. At least I think from the government of Indian side and from my people's side, a guerrilla fighter may be acceptable, I said. So we choose from guerrilla fighter to chief minister. It's a very unusual name of a book. I remember one thing. In the story of some important people, once I read it here, and then at the end of that, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, such and such, before he enters politics, he was a businessman, a teacher. Before they enter politics, what was their profession? Everything was written there. I look at myself, and they said, before he entered politics, what was Zoram Tanaji? He was a terrorist, they said. I believe that was a little too much. I speak in a mission, only one. Kapie so pujon pakati sota marna ma sona oma ta chun aming chu purim Roma aming kanesh mi kwal pakata vakala so so niente kapu nang ma hiem ni kei koya kambal chedi chu pa bibi so kei po terrorist attack kasul guerrilla fighter. So, when I look at that guerrilla fighter, guerrilla means small war. It does not offend the government of India, nor does it offend me. Therefore, it's a compromise name. So, from a guerrilla fighter to the chief minister. It's a really rare. I remember when I read the book about Che Guevara, I pronounce it as Che Guevara. But those Spanish people, they could not understand that. Ah, you mean Che Guevara. So they call it Che Guevara. I read all the book. I saw the film, and I said, if Che Guevara can make a book, if he can make a film like this, I think I can do the same thing. Mine will not be less, I said. Therefore, it is my belief that someday, with the holy old people, there may come a chance in which we may be able to make a movie out of this nationalism movement of the Mizo people.